Hi, it's me again, David Burkett, convener of SNP Peterhead. This week, the Tories revealed their true character. But then they realised they'd let the genie out of the box and tried to stuff it back in again. It all started when former Cabinet Minister and Tory MP Owen Paterson was investigated by the Independent Commissioner for Standards on corruption allegations. The Commissioner concluded that Mr Paterson had been paid £300,000 by two companies over a 3-year period to explicitly use his position as an MP and former Minister to influence government policy. The report concluded that it was the most egregious act of cash for access that Parliament had seen in modern times. In other words, there were no bones about it. Owen Paterson was bang to rights guilty. The Commissioner's report was then considered by a cross-party committee on standards and privileges who voted unanimously, including all 4 Tory MPs on the committee and members of the public, to accept the Commissioner's report. They recommended that Owen Paterson be suspended from the House for 30 days. Now, the final stage was to be a vote in the House of Commons. Usually, by the time such proceedings reach this stage, the writing is on the wall. But when Mr Paterson's case came before the House this week, something unprecedented happened. 59 of Owen Paterson's friends got together and tabled an amendment to the vote which would halt proceedings against him, change the entire system of holding MPs to account for corruption, and then allow him to appeal the decision once a new system and committee was in place. Of course, the Tories won that vote, so Owen Paterson's sanction was briefly suspended until this new process can be established and his chums could rig it to let him off. Now, a few notable Tory MPs voted for this. From the Scottish Tories, as expected, our very own David Duguid MP did as he was told. And it will come as no surprise to anyone to learn that Andrew Bowie MP also did as he was told. John Lamont MP did his dastardly duty, as did former Scottish Secretary David Mundell MP. Another notable Tory who did their dastardly duty was John Penrose MP, the government's anti-corruption champion. On Wednesday, he voted to enable, well, corruption. But finally, and most shockingly, Owen Paterson MP himself. Yes, the very member found guilty of corruption got to sit in the House and take part in the vote on his own fate. That is just batshit crazy. When the government's so-called anti-corruption champion votes to enable actual corruption, there's something gravely wrong. When the 59 MPs who tabled this amendment are in receipt of an estimated £1 million annually in paid consultancy roles between them, there's something gravely wrong. And when the very person who's been guilty of corruption gets to take part in the vote on his own fate, there's something gravely wrong. The backlash was harsh and immediate. The press went first. And when even the Daily Mail, who are usually the Tories, Brexit and Boris Johnson's main cheerleaders, print a front page like this, they knew they'd messed up. We've started to receive emails and messages from disgruntled Tory voters. We can only imagine what the Tory MPs' inboxes must be like. So less than 24 hours later, the Tories did a U-turn. That was when their true character was revealed. It's true that they initially used their whips to influence a democratic process in order to pull their friend out from under a bus on Wednesday, despite the fact he was already proven to be guilty. But if they had the courage of their convictions, if they were right to suspend Owen Paterson's sanction until they had put in place a new appeals process, they should have stuck to their guns. But when they saw the backlash, the public fury, the negative press, when they realised the self-inflicted damage to come, then they did as only Tories could too. They took their friend, who they just rescued and threw him straight back under the bus again. After 24 years of service, telling him they had his back, they did this to him in less than 24 hours. Unless, of course, you all really believe he decided all on his own to resign. You see, the Tory U-turn wasn't some epiphany because they all realised that they'd just done something wrong. It was more like a child being caught with their hand in the sweetie jar. Sure, when that kid's parents give them into trouble for stealing sweeties, they pretend they're really sorry. But if they hadn't been caught, they'd have demolished those sweeties. And knowing the Tories, they would have come back for more. Because if they'd managed to get Owen Paterson off the hook, then that would have been a get-out-of-jail-free card for every Tory MP caught with their hand in the sweetie jar from now until the end of time. But some good has come from this shameful saga, because something else unprecedented happened. For the first time since Boris won the 2019 general election, the press and the public have successfully held his government to account, proving that despite the ineptitude of the current opposition, the Tories are not invulnerable. And that wee fact gives me a tiny bit of hope. Thanks for listening, folks. See you all soon.